Hey all, welcome to my channel. My name is Nicole and I'm here solely for the fact, as you might been able to guess from my username, to create videos about what it's like to live alone. This is really my first time living alone. That hasn't been with roommates in a dorm with family members. This is my very first apartment. I've been here for a little bit and learning more and more each day. And one of the things that I have been learning how to do is conquering the kitchen. At first was conquering the fear of a kitchen. The fear is gone. I'm now very comfortable in the kitchen and I can create meals specifically for my family, for other people, and for myself. Cooking for one is very hard. So now, as you can kind of see from my grocery bags here in the corner, is I want to learn how to cook on a budget. Something I've realized this past month when my expenses have been very tight is that I spend too much money on food. Unjustifiable amounts of money on food. And I want to get past that. So I'm very thankful to the other YouTubers here who have already put in their tips and tricks, and I've used so many of them. And I want to get involved in their challenges. I want to see what it is that I can do with my own creativity as well. Let's get started. I'm very excited. So I think for this video, what I want to do is I want to create $7 dinners. So first we have up a creamy roasted pepper pasta. This is a fantastic vegetarian meal. I try not to eat meat on Wednesdays and Fridays. Partially it's a Catholic thing, but also it's just better for the environment. And what is so special about this one, and you're going to have to go with me on this, is that instead of any sort of marinara sauce, we're going to be using this roasted pepper tomato soup. Okay? And what's going to be creamy about it is that we are going to be adding the cream cheese. So simple ingredients, start like you usually would, right? You get your pot of water boiling, make sure you put in your salt. As you can see, salt shelves. And then in the other pot we have here, we are going to put 2 minced cloves of garlic and then a half of onion chopped. Now, I'm going to say this until the day the Lord takes me home, right? So put your onion in the freezer 15 to 20 minutes before you plan on cutting it. This will prevent all that chemical getting into your eyes and making you dread the decision of putting onion in your food. And when you go to cut the onion, don't cut through the core, all right? So it'll make your onion chopping experience a lot better, a lot faster. Get a good sharp knife when you do this. It should only take about a minute or two. Okay, so get your chopped up onion with your minced garlic in your pot. Let it get nice and hot. You know that smell. Everybody knows that smell. It's just, makes your whole place smell delicious. Once your water is nice and boiled, you go and you put what my family calls bow tie pasta in, and I know some people like it more al dente, whatever, do as many minutes as you want. And then in the other pot over here, you're going to put a little bit of your olive oil in. I would say maybe a tablespoon, just to get the onion particles out from the bottom of the pan. So scrape those up a bit. And then we are going to put your soup in, okay? Let it get nice and hot. Take 3/4 cup of water, all right? Put it in your soup and then eyeball it, but I went eventually with about a 1/4 cup of flour just to thicken it up a bit. If you like it a bit more runny, if you like it a bit thicker, totally up to you, just the water flour ratio. Get a nice stir it up, get your cream cheese out. I use 2 ounces. And then black pepper for some taste. Stir it all together, wonderful, delicious. Drain your pasta, plate it, make sure everything in your sauce now is very consistent. You got all the flour stirred and it's creamy and delicious and hot. Pour it on top and voila, you have a wonderful meal that's going to last at least dinner tonight, lunch tomorrow. Now that it's the start of fall officially, this is a great time to break out these warm and hearty soups. So for this, I'm gonna do a Tuscan style bean soup, which came out to be less than $5. Unlike the other recipe, I'm gonna be using the entire onion and guesstimate probably about 1 cup of the mozzarella cheese. The original recipe had called for Parmesan, but honestly, if you're a cheese lover like myself, go with either what you have available to you or what you just like the most. And as far as celery, that's about 2 stalks or so. Try to get a good carrot to celery ratio. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is choose your style of bean. I went for the northern bean. I only had them in a bag. I didn't wash them beforehand the night before. So this is going to be a bit of a long stretch for me. I'm going to have to cook them, which is fine. If you're going to cook them, the flavor is still amazing. Just remember to add your salt about 45 minutes, an hour of the way through. And when you're done, of course, to dispose of the water and re-rinse. When you get close to your time of your beans being absolutely ready, you're going to want to chop your onion, your carrot, and your celery. Don't forget my trick, put the onion in the freezer 15-20 minutes before you plan on using it. All of these go into, let's say about a tablespoon of olive oil, 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Saute these vegetables for about 4 minutes. The smell is incredible. And then for another minute, you want to mince your garlic. So first 3 vegetables for 4 minutes, mince your 5 cloves of garlic. Again, keep it sauteed for another minute. At this point, you're going to want to get your chicken broth. 2 cups of chicken broth, add it in, nice and hot, and then you want to flavor it. I have Italian seasoning, whatever seasoning you have available to you, oregano, basil, let your taste buds decide, and of course, black pepper to taste. Cover and let these vegetables that you have been sauteing get nice and soft for about 10-12 minutes, 15 at maximum. And then once that is completed and you have your finished cooked and rinsed beans, you're going to add the soup into the beans. Make sure you mix it all together. There's lots of ingredients. You want to make sure that each is incorporated nicely throughout. And then add your spinach. I love spinach. I'm going to be using the entire bag, and it's going to wilt very nicely. Give it 30 seconds to a minute to wilt in its entirety. Stir it constantly. Again, make sure everything gets shuffled in there very nicely. Top it back up with your black pepper, and if you need more salt, because like I said, you're going to be adding a lot of salt into it when you do your beans. Now's the time. Taste it first. And then once you're finished, you can plate this and then sprinkle a bit more cheese on top, or a lot more cheese. And then there you have it. You have a huge pot of soup that is either going to last you for a couple meals or that you can share easily with family and friends. Recipe number 3 is a crowd favorite. This is going to please so many people, and it's the easiest recipe you could imagine. Now we have a bit more ingredients than before, so let's go through this list. You're going to want either your ground beef or ground turkey. I'm going with the ground turkey. Elbow noodles, chicken broth, canned tomatoes, recommended with the green chilies, okay? But if you don't like the chilies, a regular canned tomato is fine. Cup of milk, 8-ounce tomato sauce, taco seasoning, and cheese, your shredded cheese. They recommend in the recipe in like a cup and a half, but you know me, be generous with your cheese. So the first thing you're going to do is in a large skillet, and you're going to want to make this the largest skillet you have, because this meal is going to feed a lot of people, is going to want to brown your meat. Do that over medium heat. And once that's accomplished, you're basically dumping everything else in other than the noodles. So get your can of tomatoes with the green chilies. Don't drain them. You want the liquid. Get your broth, your milk, your 8-ounce tomato sauce, and half of your taco seasoning. Increase your heat to medium-high. Keep it mixed until your mixture begins to simmer. I should add at this point, I also threw in a minced clove of garlic. Optional, but I love garlic. Now at this point you might be thinking, that's a lot of liquid in the skillet. Trust me, you are going to need it for what is about to happen. You want to get your elbow noodles. I'm dumping the whole box in. I'm trying to get as many portions as possible. Reduce the heat to low and keep it stirring for 15 to 20 minutes until your noodles are tender. Now when you get to the noodles the way you like them, you take your shredded cheese and add as much as you want. This is also the time when you can add the second half of your taco seasoning. I personally put mine in right as the noodles got tender before the cheese. And I have this huge skillet to enjoy. Honestly, one bowl probably fill you up. This is a very satisfying meal. And finally, to wrap up this video, is what's probably my favorite recipe out of this gathering. This is a honey balsamic chicken recipe with veggies. And what's extra fantastic about this is that it's a 1-sheet pan recipe. Totally easy cleanup and just very simple ingredients. Now, if you look at my list here, what I included but didn't actually have in the picture is a thing of diced tomatoes. So make sure you have that on hand as well. I chose the diced tomatoes that already has the basil flavor with it and the olive oil flavor. Not necessary because we're going to be adding those as well, but it's whatever really you have on hand or just like to use. Now the very first thing we're going to do is get our mixing bowl, and we are going to put in 1/4 of our balsamic vinaigrette. We are going to mince 2 cloves of garlic, 2 tablespoons of honey, and 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard. Now I didn't have Dijon mustard, but I did have a horseradish mustard, which worked just as well. And then of course you're going to put in your seasonings, always your salt, always your pepper, and I recommend, though it isn't necessary, but of course basil and oregano can only help. Stir it all together, and now you're going to want to have your thinly sliced chicken breast. For this recipe, we're going to use 4 of them. We are going to want to put them in this bowl, get them nice and coated, because this is going to be a marinade. All right? And when they're nicely coated, get your cling wrap and then put it in the fridge. Now you can do this up till overnight to leave it in the fridge. If you don't have overnight, my recommendation is minimum 2 hours. So 2 hours in that fridge. It's a little bit of a waiting game, but it's by far the quote-unquote hardest part of the process. And it doesn't involve any extra work on your part, so I'll take that. And while your 2 hours is almost up, go to your oven, preheat 400 degrees Fahrenheit, get out your cooking sheet, get your tinfoil, line it, choose your sides. I also saw this done with asparagus. I didn't have asparagus, so potatoes and green beans. The whole potatoes, if you have them, try to quarter them, so they're bite-sized and wonderful. Put them on your baking sheet, and then take your tomatoes, okay, open them and drain them, and then put your diced tomatoes on the side of the veggies, almost creating like a bed. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get your chicken out of that marinade and place your chicken upon the bed of tomatoes. Get your salt and pepper back out, your olive oil back out, drizzle it all over, and then you take this very delicious one sheet extravaganza, put it in the oven for about 25-30 minutes, whatever it takes to get the internal temperature of the chicken right. And then once it's done, that's your dinner, and it's fantastic and ready to go. And can I just say, putting these tomatoes underneath the chicken really changes the game. You know, that juicy flavor, you don't have to worry about your meat drying out, very tender. It's absolutely delicious. And there you go. That is the fourth recipe. Big winner amongst many, many, many people. And I hope you enjoyed these 4 recipes that I have to present to you. And if you like them, please, subscribe to my channel, stick around. I have plenty of other ideas that I can't wait to show you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.